Hi, I'm Richard Burns, and thanks for coming to In the Flow, the channel for spiritual beings about spiritual beings. All of our episodes are embedded with transformational energy. Thus, as you watch, you can receive healing energy.
My name is Lisa Barnett, and I am the founder of Akashic Knowing School of Wisdom. So I teach people to access their own soul guidance through the Akashic Records. I also do Akashic healing sessions for clients, and I really help people to awaken using this vibration of the Akashic Field. What I learned over time of being able to access the Akashic Records and ask these questions, the record keeper said that 1,000 years ago, during the Dark Ages, they pulled the vibration of the Akashic Field away from humanity so that people could not misuse the ability to access information. And so it wasn't until the 1970s that the record keepers were finally coming and saying, it's time to bring the energy back and anchor it back to earth. And they started tapping on people's shoulders like me and saying, hey, would you help us bring the Akash back to humanity and start a school? And so it was pretty interesting in the way that I was taught to go to the records, but you couldn't enter. And then that kind of made the access for the record keepers to come to me and say, hey, can you help us and start a school and share this information? I was born awake, and what that means to me is that when I was about 3 years old and was conscious in a more finite sense of the word, I realized that I was trapped back in a body. I literally had this experience where I looked at my hands and thought like, oh no, I'm trapped again. And I told my mother I wanted to go back, and she had nowhere to send me. So of course I went on with my life. But I literally started studying when I was 13, 14, when one of my two best friends, two soul sisters, died of a brain tumor. And so when she crossed, I felt very responsible. I could actually remember having been a healer in other lifetimes and felt like I should have been able to heal her. So I started studying, back when I was 14, I started reading everything I could get my hands on. I studied philosophy at the university. And then my second soul sister died, and that really derailed my whole very awake life. So it wasn't until almost 15 years later that I kind of came back around, realized that I had really derailed myself, gone down a crazy rabbit hole. And it was time to come back to who I was as a healer. And so I studied with a wonderful teacher here in California for many, many years. And eventually that led to me being able to access this very high vibration of the Akashic Field. The Akashic record keepers started to ask me to help them to bring this energy and information back to humanity because they had pulled it away from the earth during the Dark Ages. So, my awakening was a process, as it always is, and really learning to be the healer that I came to be, and stepping into the fact that I had made a contract with the Akashic Records to help bring the energy back to humanity and to start to do that. So that has been the last 25 years of my life. When we look at an emotional scale of 0 to 1,000, most of humanity has been living between 0 and 200 for thousands of years, really. And those are low vibrational energies. They're about shame and guilt and fear and anger and jealousy and competition, and really where we've lived as a humanity for, again, a very long time. And those low energies really keep us stuck in kind of the muck and the mire that we experience in the world. But when we can break past 200 and we start to move into hope, even neutrality, because honestly, neutrality, when you can be neutral, you're not on either end of the dichotomy. You're not in good or bad or right or wrong. You're in a neutral space where you can see both sides of the coin. You can see all answers. And that starts to open doors, of course, to move up into higher levels of compassion and love and joy, and eventually into a higher consciousness of what we call enlightenment or awakening. I believe that everyone is born with this ability, and this is what the Akashic Record Keepers said to me all those years ago when they said, would you start a school and bring this information back to humanity? Because this is your birthright. And so when they asked me to start a school and to channel all this information and start teaching people around the world, I said, yeah, but why me? At that point, I had 3 small children. I was a mom in the suburbs, and I'm like, I think you have the wrong woman. Why would you ask me to do this? And they said, because you were one of us. You were an Akashic Record Keeper in your early incarnations, and so you can hear us. We can give you information. You can listen and start a school and help us to anchor the Akash back to humanity, back on the earth, because it was gone for 1,000 years, which is why not that many people know about the Akashic Records still. But they do say this is everyone's birthright, so we want you to teach everyone how to do this for themselves. And so that is what I work at doing. As a collective, more people have awoken really over the last few years than in the last 1,000 or 2,000 years. So 1,000 years ago, 1000 AD was the dark ages, right? The energy on the planet was very low, very dark. It was very much about survival here. And we've been able to move up to and over 200, which means that as a collective group, we truly are starting to awaken. And in really the last year or two, I've had more people come to me saying, I just woke up, now what? I'm looking for, some teaching. I'm looking for classes. I could use an Akashic reading. I want to understand who I am as a soul or what my soul plan is. And so I really believe that we are awakening and raising our vibration, and collectively we will continue to awaken. I would say that the people who come to me often come because they feel like they're at a crossroads. Often they've been living a more human life. Maybe they've been in the corporate world, and they feel, they kind of know in different ways that there's more to life than just this, right? And so people who are awakening often will find me and come to me for readings or take my workshops. People who are at a crossroads, who are challenged. I often will have people who have been in relationships for a long time, and they're wondering if their soul contracts are complete. Do I have a karmic pattern I need to finish, or is it okay if I move on? So sometimes it's around relationship, and a lot of people come to me around abundance of all kinds, including love and relationship, but a lot of people feel blocked in creating an abundant life, monetarily. So they feel that maybe there's some past life vows or other lifetimes where they said, I'm not going to take money for my soul gifts or for the work I do. And so most of the people who come to me have been awake for a while and or are awakening, and they really want to be able to access the information that their soul planned before embodying. And so your soul writes a whole plan. You write soul contracts to support people. You write soul contracts with karma attached, which actually just means you want to learn something with that person. You write the purpose is that you have, the gifts and talents you want to share with humanity. And often we're picking those from past lives to bring forward into this life now. My mission is just to help people realize you are so much more than these, little physical bodies, that we have lived thousands or millions of lives in other places, planes, and dimensions. And most of us have probably lived at least 500 lives here on Earth as we've gone through this phenomenal process of learning and growing on planet Earth.